Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Retrospective here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is my weekly show where my guests and I each pick a film related in some shape or form. And hopefully by the end of this episode, you have two films to go check out. And it is the fourth Thursday of the month, which means only one thing. Jeff is back. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, anytime.
Yes, and we are doing a double dose of Denis Villeneuve directed 2013 releases starring Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's Prisoners and Enemy. And I don't think I fully realized just how those other two extra links there, besides the Denis Villeneuve one, when I picked Enemy after you picked
Yeah.
Prisoners. But let's dive into Prisoners first. A desperate father takes the law into his own hands after police fail to find two kidnapped girls. And this is indeed directed by Denis Villeneuve, starring Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Viola Davis, Maria Bello, Terrence Howard, Melissa Leo, Paul Dano, uh, David Desmalkian. So, there's a lot. They actually got a really significant cast for this movie and a sprawling 2.5 hour psychological thriller. But Jeff, what are your general thoughts on Prisoners?
So this is I want to say my second time watching it. And the first time I watched it, I really liked it.
Hmm.
This time I watched it, I think I loved it. Like
Hmm.
it's probably been a good 10 years since I watched it the first time. And now watching it again this time it was like there's so much that I forgot. I knew like maybe like the first half. Like I remembered the first half very well, but the second half was a complete blur to me. But then like it was almost like watching it for the first time again, where like I didn't see certain things coming. I didn't see the ending happen. I didn't see how the mystery kind of came together. And I it was really, really fun to kind of watch it again,
Hmm.
kind of like for the first time again.
Absolutely. This is actually my number one film of 2013. I'm a huge fan of this film. This cracks my top 100 favorite movies. This is, and I think, yeah, this is still my number one Denis Villeneuve film. Some of his ones recently I absolutely love as well.
Hmm.
Big sci-fi fan, but there's just something about this movie that is so emotionally arresting and also so thought-provoking. Like
Yeah.
the mystery of it and how it all pieces together is really twisted and engaging. Um, this is shot by Roger Deakins, so it looks absolutely incredible.
I didn't realize that
Um,
until after I watched it. I was on the Wikipedia page looking up some stuff about it, and I was like, Roger Deakins made this? I was like, God, no wonder I like it.
yeah. Well, and you'll be hard pressed to find a more striking shot of a tree in a
Yeah.
movie, then that is just such a harrowing thought of it lingering on the tree, knowing exactly what's happening at that moment.
Hmm.
And I think it took me my second watch to realize that's the moment that the girls get taken, and you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of subtlety throughout this film. This film doesn't spell a whole lot out for you, and it leaves a lot of really interesting breadcrumbs that you don't think are important or connected, but everything threads together so perfectly. And why this film hits me so hard is like, one, like, if I had to say, this easily would have been in the best picture conversation for 2013. Um,
Absolutely.
and I don't know if like Denis Villeneuve just wasn't on their radar at this
Hmm.
point. They seem to have a problem nominating him for best director for things as it appears. But there's also like, honestly, this is I think Hugh Jackman's best performance.
This is his movie.
Oh my God. And the fact that this man played Wolverine for how many it has played Wolverine for so many years, he's still playing him.
Yeah.
He's never been more
He's gonna do it
terrifying
till
than
he's
this.
90.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's never been this intense, like and
Yeah.
scary as Wolverine. Like him with that hammer in that bathroom.
Hmm.
I'm like, I am legitimately scared of this man. And his performance is incredible. You have Paul Dano, who
Who's
has such
always
a
good.
who's has such an interesting and strange character to play in this movie
Hmm.
and plays it so perfectly. And I think this might have been the time where I first started realizing just how impressive Jake Gyllenhaal can be as an actor. And it's all the little things that he does as Detective Loki. Hey, that you know in Nightcrawler where he's just like he never
Yeah,
blinks. He he does all these like weird picks where he blinks awkwardly at times, and like there's just something off
yeah.
about him. And he he is very isolated. He is very intense. And that scene in the car with him and Hugh Jackman when he finally confronts him, like that was like this is an Oscar clip for best actor moment. Hugh Jackman just like raging, and I'm just like, they missed it. And that was the Dallas Buyers Club year for Matthew McConaughey, if I'm not mistaken. And
But Dallas Buyers Club was 2014.
was that the next year?
I don't. I could be wrong.
Because this was also like Leo, Wolf of Wall Street,
Yeah.
and Suedio Agio for 12 Years a Slave. There's some really strong best actor, like even like something like Locke with Tom Hardy could have easily gotten like this was a really strong year for lead actor performances. Just looking at my 2013 list here, but the whole cast is incredible. I think one of the unsung heroes is Melissa Leo, who that woman knows how to play somebody I hate. Because whether it's the fighter or this or novitiate, there's just something about the presence that she can bring to a role. And you don't know quite yet what you don't like about this character. And when you find out, you're just like, ooh, I hate you, woman.
Yeah.
By the end. And the story is so complex, but also this is so densely thematic when it comes to like human nature.
Yeah. I was just looking at to go back to Deakins for a minute.
Yeah.
I was just looking at his movies around this time. Look at this run. He's got Skyfall, Prisoners, Unbroken, Sicario, Hail
Yep.
Caesar, Blade Runner 2049, The
Yep.
Goldfinch, which isn't great, but it looks
It looks
good.
great.
1917, and
Yep.
then Empire of Light. Not good, but
Looks
was
good.
shot, but looks amazing. Like that is I think that's a really good run of movies.
Well, and it's crazy because even if you turn the clock back like 5-ish years, he had No Country and the assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford in the same year.
Yeah,
Just like, look at this man. And obviously, it took until Blade Runner 2049 for him to finally break that streak of him not
yeah.
winning. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Emmanuel Lubezki who won for Gravity this
Mm,
year,
yeah,
which, like, Gravity ate up all the technical awards that year because, like, it was a technical feat. Them putting
yeah.
that together. Emmanuel Lubezki was the bane of him and Robert Elswit were like the bane of Roger Deakins' existence for like a decent chunk of time there. Him not winning any Oscars during that stretch. But no, this movie is gorgeous. And it's not big. It's just there's very striking imagery. Like
Hmm.
even just how perfectly lit, like the scenes where they show Paul Dano in the boxed in shower and the little eye hole and the light coming in and
Yeah,
the combination of Deacon cinematography and also Paul Dano being able to act with like this like express things with this little bit of light. Also, the editing in this is really great. There's this
fantastic. Yeah.
the one moment where Viola Davis comes into the bathroom and it's perfectly framed where the sink blocks Paul Dano's face when she pulls it off. And then you get the
Hmm.
reaction shot from her, and you're just like, oh my God, what does he look like? And then you finally get the reverse shot of him, and you're just like, how swollen his face is, the makeup and everything.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that was heartbreaking. And there's so many great tense scenes, like when Jake Gyllenhaal, Detective Loki, shows up to David Dismalkian's house and you find all the boxes, and you're just like, what are in these boxes?
Right.
And just the shots of just snakes just crawling all across the floor. I'm like, ooh. I was just like, no. I would have opened the first one. Well, I know he was trying to find like kids in there, so I'm like, well, he's a cop. He's brave enough to, keep
Yeah.
opening them. I'm just like, I would have found it hard to not nope out after the first one.
Oh yeah.
But that scene is so creepy and unnerving. The scene in the interrogation room, that that was so intense and unnerving and just ugh. There's so many moments in this, and this is one of those types of movies that like takes you. And
Yeah.
by the end, you're just like, oh, how do I feel about humanity? Because this is like Cormac McCarthy level nihilism at things, especially with like the motivation of
Hmm.
why all of this happened. And you're just like, damn, that's
Well,
dark.
title and talk about nihilism, like the people, like the individual at the end of the movie who did do it, like they were on their whole, on their own little nihilistic journey as well.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like, geez, like
Yeah.
one bad thing happens in your life, and to be fair, it was a really bad thing that happened to them,
Hmm.
but like that triggered this. You're just like, holy crap. Like that is taking your pain and trauma to a whole other level.
Yeah.
And there's that. And can how much can you like how much could you fault Hugh Jackman's character? Like he's not exactly like the best person. And you can tell like he's controlling, he's a little too intense. But like I don't know how I would act if my if I had a daughter and she was kidnapped like that and
Yeah.
you felt like the police weren't doing anything. And Detective Loki is so unstable in his own way and he is too intense into his cases. I'm like, this man needs a life, like outside of work, because he's one of those obsessive type of cops. And you know what happens with Maria Bello, who just turns kind of comatose
Yeah.
from grief, and you have the dynamic with Terrence Howard, Viola Davis, and that when she doesn't want to be a part of it, but gives her blessing to let him do what he needs to do. I'm just like, just there's so many layers to like, and the title of this movie is so fascinating because there are a lot of literal prisoners in this movie. Obviously,
Yeah.
you have the kidnapped kids, and there's some other characters that have been prisoners of their trauma for so long. And then that's the thing. Everybody else becomes a prisoner of this whole entire situation. And seeing how each of them reacts to it. And then also Hugh Jackman making somebody else a literal prisoner.
Yeah.
On top of that, I'm just like, there's few titles that hit so perfectly based off of what the
Hmm.
movie turns out to really be about as this, because the term prisoners goes a long way in
Yeah. There's a lot
describing
of
the
there's a lot of
dynamics.
layers to this title. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I guess, is there anything else, Jeff, that really stood out to you about prisoners?
N Nothing that we haven't already talked about. It's just a really good movie. I'll recommend it to anybody.
Absolutely. And I was just peeking at my 2013 list, a sneaky good year for movies.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of films from 2013 that I really loved. And like I said, this is at the top of it. So obviously I have some strong feelings about this. But we are going to talk about another film from Denis Villeneuve from the same year, and that's Enemy. And I know I watched this once, and it was one of those. what the hell did I just watch
Right.
kind of experiences. And this has been, honestly, Jeff, this might have been 10 years ago since I watched this one for the first time. A mild mannered college professor investigates the life of an actor who looks exactly like him. And this is from director Denis Villeneuve, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Melanie Laurent, who fresh off of, well, I guess not fresh off of, but was a main actor in Inglorious Bastards. You have Sarah Gaden, and even Isabella Rossellini popping up in this. I'm like, that was
Yeah.
unexpected.
I didn't remember that the first time I watched it.
I don't think I remembered her being in this either. But Jeff, what are your general thoughts on Enemy?
So this was again my second time watching it. I watched it for the first time like fairly recently too, like maybe like a
Okay.
year and a half ago. And I didn't totally get it when I first watched it. And I watched this time and I got it a little more, but I was still like I still had like a lot of burning questions about it. I should say for the record, I like this movie. I don't
No.
like it as much as Prisoners, but I like it. But I still had so many like burning questions that at the end of it that I had to like go online and look up a bunch of articles and stuff and like for me like I thought it was some kind of like sci-fi message where it was like oh like for some reason there's it's like a doppelganger type of situation he got
Mm.
cloned or something I don't know but it's more of a metaphor more than it is like sci-fi.
It feels a little, I don't know if magical realism is exactly the right thing, but like it's
Yeah,
an unexplained thing that doesn't need explaining. Like it's
right,
one of those types of things that is just like that's not the point. The point of the movie is not to give you a concrete answer to why there's two Jake Gyllenhaals
right.
here. The point is what it's saying about this person or these people along the way. And I actually, so I think the first time I watched it, I wasn't prepared for this, and I'm not how much sure how much I liked it, nor how much my brain was ready to like grapple with it.
Mm-hmm.
I did like this a lot more this time. And on top of
Same.
that, I really avoided trying to look up articles because something in my brain started going at the end. And I'm like, I want to see where my brain goes with this. Um, and I have some interesting thoughts, which we'll certainly get to the tarantula. Um, the like we'll get to the final shot of the movie. I feel like we'll get to that. But one, this is a really interesting and engaging looking film. There's something like oddly dreamlike about
Yeah,
it. And I think it's one, the color tinting of it, and there's something slightly hazy about it. And then you have these like flashes of imagery of this like mysterious club kind of
yeah,
thing that also feels like, is this some kind of like fever dream? And I'm not saying this is full blown Lynchian. It's I think it's a little bit more accessible than like a Mulholland Drive that might take you 5 times to watch it to like start really grappling with it. But it is that type of movie where I feel like you need to watch this a couple of times to
sure.
like really piece things out and try to wrap your head around some of the themes and ideas. Because like obviously it's you have Jake Gyllenhaal who plays Adam and Anthony, these two characters that are very different,
Mm-hmm.
have very different personalities. One you gravitate to a lot easier, this very mild mannered college professor, and he has his relationship, and the other version of him has his relationship, and you have the two women with Laurent and Gaten that fit into this. And I'll have to say that probably the thing that stood out to me most in this film was there's something about that dynamic between Adam's the college professor, right?
Yes.
Okay. Him and Helen, who is the pregnant partner of
Mm-hmm.
Anthony. There was something about their dynamic that was very interesting to me. And it felt like Helen being a character processing, or as a character processing, okay, I have this man in my life, I'm going to have his child, but here comes this other version of him who is like softer and more
Yeah.
tender and nicer. And like, it kind of felt like she found a relief in his existence.
Yeah.
And there was something really interesting about that to me that I thought was fascinating. And like, it might be completely obvious that this is exploring like we have multitudes to us. We have these different experiences and layers to us, but this definitely feels like somebody had been split and you had these aspects of their personality here, these types of the personality here, and the partner in your life seeing these other dimensions of you and seeing you in a new light because there's a lot of tension with those
Hmm.
scenes with Mary, Laurent's character, and Anthony, which that tension goes to some dark places for sure.
Yeah.
But those are some of the things that really stood out to me about the film that really resonated.
Yeah, and there to your point about the Helen character kind of feeling more like that the Adam character was softer. I was reading something that said like she, because there's like that part in the movie where she thinks that he cheated on her, or he like knows that he cheated on her at one point, and thinks that it's happening again. Like there's already like that bit of like right from the beginning she doesn't feel totally comfortable in that relationship. And so
No.
when she does see Adam and sees that he's a kinder heart, that it kind of starts making her decision later in the film,
Yeah.
kind of ring a little bit more like interesting. But then another thing that I read was when Adam finds what he finds at the very end of the film, and he says a thing and makes a choice, it's almost like it turns him into Adam in a way. Or I mean, it
Well,
turns him into Anthony.
I had that exact read when I was watching, and I was so mad. Like this got me like that moment and what he said about that the evening later, it made me so upset because I'm just
Yeah,
like, no, you're
yeah,
ruining it. And there's, I guess, does it represent outside forces that push us to these darker places amongst ourselves or bring the worst out of us?
yeah,
Because I feel like that thing is a representation of Anthony's darker impulses and these temptations. And then I don't know if the final shot is a physical manifestation of that temptation looming over him, but like that's kind of the read I had. But obviously it's a very strange and evocative final shot of this film that certainly can be interpreted in different
yeah.
ways.
It scared me the first time I watched it, and then I forgot, and I knew it was coming this time around, and then it scared me again. I was like, "What? I was like, how did I fall for this again?"
Well, to be fair, it is a shocking moment.
It is a very like jarring moment.
I just recently rewatched Weapons with my wife, and there's that. I don't know. Did you see Weapons?
Yeah,
Do you remember Josh Brolin's reaction to that horrible dream? And he wakes up the next morning, he's just like, "What the?" Like,
I vaguely remember it.
I got one of the biggest laughs in my theater. I got a big laugh out of my wife and I. That's the kind of reaction I felt like inside when he turns the corner in the bedroom. You're just like, "What
Yeah.
just happened?"
There's a lot of
And
weird stuff in that movie.
yes, well, and this like the it's very interesting that what happens with Anthony and Marion. Also, how horrible of a person Anthony is to propose what he proposes
Yeah.
to Adam. And that was that moment where Mary realizes something and about who she thinks is Adam, but is Anthony. And you're just like, oh no. And how that goes from there
Yeah.
is shocking and really horrific. And I guess, how did you feel about Mary as a character? Because, like, I felt a ton of sympathy for Helen and
Yeah.
really bought into her as a character. And, like, what winds up, like, Mary's fate in this movie is really dark and dark.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to I think it's hard to kind of feel anything for Mary because we don't really spend a lot of time getting to
Yeah.
know her as a person. We spend a lot more time with Helen because we see that she's pregnant. We
Yeah.
see that they have, troubles in their relationship. And we see even where she and Anthony live. But we only see Mary going to her job. We know she has a job, and we see
Yep.
her at Adam's apartment. We see them, together a few times here and there, and then we see her and Anthony go off at one point. So I mean, we don't really spend a lot of time getting to know her at all. So that's why I'm like, I don't really feel anything for her because I don't know her.
Well, and that's the interesting thing because, like, I immediately felt that spark between Helen and Adam in
Yeah,
those brief moments of them connecting. And I didn't really feel that with Mary, even in the briefer moments that we like
yeah,
got to see her. And I'm wondering if it's like, is that a relationship that's even destined to be much of anything? And is it
no,
just kind of like it feels more like they feel comfortable in it?
yeah. Even
Because
even
he's
both of them, I don't like both Adam and Anthony. I like whoever one she's gonna be with. I don't see her with either of them because even with Adam, like they're mostly just in it for sex from what it looks like. They
yeah.
don't really go out. They don't really do anything. Like you only really see her at their apartment or at his apartment. That's it.
Well, and I think it's even more interesting because I feel like the relationship only stays intact because Adam is so mild-mannered
Yeah.
and just appeased with it. Because
Hmm.
the second you put like Anthony into that situation, he's getting aggressive in their sexual like those intimate moments with them
Yeah.
with these two characters, and it becomes volatile. And you're really wondering, it's like because sensibly it feels like Adam and Anthony are like a splitting
Yeah.
of one person.
Yeah.
And the idea it's like you have all like the positive elements in Adam and these negative elements in Anthony. And in general, it just feels like Mary and Adam work because Adam's always showing like his good side, and there's not much else to their dynamic. And it's really sad to process that like Helen never sees that good side.
Yeah.
And when she finally does, there's a lot of emotion and connection there. And honestly, by the end, I'm like, I really want Adam and Helen to work out, and then I want to jump into the movie and just slap it. At the
Yeah.
end, it's just like, no, stop it. It's this is one of those types of films where I'm just like, I don't know if I could fully rate this on like a narrative standpoint or something like that. This is very much like most of our conversation is just processing what do these things mean,
Yeah.
and that's if you're looking for an intellectual exploration of something in a film, this is a film that really does that. And I think it's really effective. And I feel like that's what Denis Villeneuve was going for. So I think he really succeeded.
Have you I highly doubt it, but have you read the book? Because it's written in Portuguese.
I have not.
Okay. I would say go on like Wikipedia and just read the like the summary of it because
Uh-huh.
I did that the other day in prep for this, and
Hmm.
not a very different story, but there's a lot of things that are different about like how things play
Interesting.
out. It's not like this like to me it seems more sci-fi than what this is.
You know what? I feel like Denis Villeneuve took this idea and stripped it down
Yeah,
and really leaned into the philosophical and metaphorical
absolutely.
aspects of it. And it's very interesting because this might seem like a weird comparison. It gives 2001 A Space Odyssey vibes of where you watch the film and the film's not supposed to give you answers.
Yeah,
Like the film's supposed to make you think and explore. But if you read the book, which I'm a big fan of all four books in Arthur C. Clarke's series, they're more concrete and gives answers to things and leans into like there are explanations for some of these things that Kubrick's just like, I don't want you to have explanations. I want
yeah,
you to think about it. And this is also why this film gives me the same vibes of like both Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan definitely have a lot of Kubrick vibes.
yeah,
And this movie really feels like eyes wide shut kind of experience where it's just like, this movie's really not here to give you answers. Like this is here to make you think and
right.
feel weird and feel gross. So, but no, this is pretty because I know I made the comparison to David Lynch. I feel like it's more like you could definitely tell Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan both have a lot of Kubrick influences, and this definitely feels like Denis Villeneuve leaning into that. Well, I'm going to try to make you think and process things, and I'm not trying to give you an explanation of any of this. You need to
Yeah.
find that yourself. So, but I guess,
I'd love to
yeah,
see
Jeff.
I'd love to see like a My Dinner with Andre, but with Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan.
I would sit and watch that for 2 hours.
I would watch it for 2 hours.
Oh man,
Hell, I'd buy him dinner just to do that.
nice. I would love, how they do like the directors on directors and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
that would, yeah, I
They
was just gonna say something similar to that too. That would be cool.
they need to get the two of them together. And
Yeah.
Jeff, this seems like the perfect year because if the Odyssey and Doom Part 3 wind up both getting a bunch of attention by the end of the year,
Oh yeah.
make it happen.
I can see that.
100%. Maybe Denis Villeneuve will actually get nominated for Best Director this time.
He
I'm
might.
just I'm just really hoping that Dune, like, I'm not trying to put any bad juju on this. I'm just really hoping that it doesn't pull a Wicked for good and realizing the source material wasn't as strong.
Oh
And,
yeah.
but like, because from what I understand, Dune Messiah is a very different kind of story than the original Dune book. But
Yeah.
I have faith in Denis Villeneuve to do something special with it.
Yeah, I'm when it because I loved the first two so much. I'm not like turned off by because I have no knowledge of the source material, so I'm literally going into it just knowing whatever it was with the first two movies. So
Yeah.
I'm in no matter what.
December 18th. And
Yeah.
as we were recording, we just got the trailer this week, that teaser. So got me thinking, but no, Denis Villeneuve has come. It's so interesting because he makes the leap. What is it, Sicario to Arrival? I feel like's the big like. Okay, we're gonna get loftier in the
Yeah.
types of stories I'm gonna tell, and he has not come down from Arrival. Like Arrival to Blade Runner 2049 and all these Dune films are just like full
Yeah.
blown sci-fi, and I'm not complaining about it
I'm
because
not
it's some
complaining
of the
about it
best.
either. He's kind of like my him and Nolan are kind of like my go-to like sci-fi director guys, you know?
Well, and what Arrival came out 10 years ago at this point, right? So it's for the past 10 years, Denis Villeneuve's been making like peak science fiction. So it's pretty great.
Yeah.
But Jeff, any other final thoughts on Enemy?
No, it's a hard movie to really recommend, but if you're like a good like if you're really into like film and you like
Yeah.
kind of delving more into like just like very experimental, not experimental, but like very like different than the norm type movies, this is definitely one to watch. It'll make you think.
Yes, this is not the type of film I would recommend to my mom.
No, not
Have my mom
exactly.
watch. No,
Yeah,
but
it's not for moms.
fun side story. My mom did actually try to sit down and watch Prisoners with me one time, and she had to nope out because
That one I would recommend. My mom likes a lot of like movies that I like too. So like I think and she likes a good mystery, so I think she would like Prisoners a lot.
I think the issue was the parent trauma
Yeah.
kicked in too hard for my mom. As somebody who doesn't have kids, that didn't hit close to home. My mother, who obviously has kids, it hit, and she's like, I think she really appreciated it, but like, I think it
Yeah.
was a little too much just how distressing a lot of that thematically is. But
Yeah.
great film for sure. But Jeff, thank you as always for coming on and chat movies with me.
Of course, anytime.
And next week, yes, we'll be back because it'll be the first Thursday of the month, and we're going to be talking about Heat and Collateral. Just you wait. You're going to get a lot of Al Pacino impressions from me on that recording, and my wife's going to love it. She's going to be sitting right next to me as I'm screaming Al Pacino lines. But and then next month we're going to do a couple of up related films written by David Ayer. It's training day and end of watch for Jeff and I next month. But thank you all for listening. Make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. What is your favorite Denis Villeneuve film? He's been doing this for over 20 years at this point, so he certainly has a filmography to explore at this point. Make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. The SPDM Crew Podcasting Network is ever expanding. So many great shows with all different types of interests, especially if you love movies. We've got plenty of those. And if you have an idea for a podcast for yourself or you want to join as a guest on one of these shows, make sure to reach out to us on our website. And if you like our logo, check out HiFlyer Creative for all your digital marketing needs. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Retrospective here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.